Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for the How to Spot a Fake Natty series. I haven't done one of these in a couple weeks. Over a couple weeks, a bunch of people asked me to do one again. Sometimes I don't always want to do these because there's just so many fake natties out there. There's so many hundreds, it almost seems futile to even point individual ones out. It'd probably just be easier to say everybody in the whole goddamn industry is a fake natty. But let's go ahead and pick one for today. Let's go with Ulisses Jr. Now, let's just look at the facts of what he does, what his stats are, everything else. First of all, we all know that fat-free mass index, generally people under 10% body fat, near contest condition. Again, there's good data on this. I've linked it at the start of this series. Anybody who's that lean with a 25 or up is pretty much on. Anyone who is actually natty in the 24.5 to 25 range has amazing genetics. Most people will never get there. To have a 24.5 to 25 while under 10% body fat puts you in the genetic elite, but we don't need to worry about people above that. People need to remember when I say these things, we're talking about people who are lean. If you're at 18% body fat with a 27 fat-free mass index, if you diet down under 10%, it'll probably drop to 24. Keep that in mind. So, where is Ulisses at? Assuming he's about 8% body fat, because he doesn't actually look shredded. In any of the photos I see, I don't think he gets down to 5 or 6% body fat. I think he sits about 8% when he's lean for photo shoots and things. So let's plug his stats in. 27.9, meaning he's holding a good 15 pounds of muscle, maybe 20 pounds over what his natural limit should be if you guys go plug the numbers in based on his frame, because he actually has a pretty small frame if you guys look closely. So we've got the fat-free mass index, that's really all we need, but let's look at a couple other things. First of all, the way he trains is really a big deal. I went and looked it up at an interview he did. He doesn't periodize, he doesn't do any true strength training. So generally, people who manage to get really amazing drug-free goals usually use some sort of high-frequency training. They usually periodize their training in some way. They use some sort of proven progression pattern. They need to change rep ranges from time to time. With any sort of periodization, they need to change the way that they train over time, and they need to train body parts at a high enough frequency to get them growing decently. People on drugs usually they use really high volume, really long times between working a body part again, so you get the traditional body part split. That works great if you're on very large doses of drugs. Everybody else, it usually gives really slow progress. Yet he has somehow surpassed most people's, pretty much everyone's natural limit while training in a way that naturals make the slowest and worst gains on. He trains exclusively, from what I saw in reading the interview, in the 12 to 15 rep range with high volume. And normally, you know, getting up to 12 reps is actually can induce a large amount of hypertrophy, because if you keep the volume fairly low, the intensities will be high enough, you'll still get a good balance of mechanical tension with metabolic fatigue. It works really well. When you're doing 15 sets for a body part like he does, doing 12 to 15 reps, you're using extremely light weights, very low mechanical tension, relying exclusively on the pump and metabolic fatigue to build your size with no way to periodize and really progress. People who train that way usually need a lot of drugs in order to progress well. And so his training style in and of itself indicates the fact that he's gained size at all and gotten pretty big on a style of training like that is indicative of being not natty just by itself. So when you combine all the things that we have together on Ulisses, I'm going to have to say he uses creatine and whey protons. Oh, one more thing I almost forgot before I go. I will link the video I did showing his gyno that developed after he became a competitor down below. He didn't develop it during puberty because he doesn't have it in most of his photo shoots and older stuff. He developed it more recently. So check that out also.